So one of the great benefits of real estate investing is using other people's money. Well, it sounds easy, but where do you find other people's money? And if you walk into your local bank, a Wells Fargo, B of A, and say, "Hey, I'd like to use your money on my new real estate investment," they're probably not going to invite you to sit down and offer you a cup of coffee. However, we do have an expert in the area of other people's money, private money, in particular, where to find it today. And he's going to show us how to find money even when you're not looking for it. Jay Conner, thank you so much for joining us today.
Bill, I'm so excited here to be with you. Thank you for inviting me to come along. I'm so excited because private money and private lending has had more of an impact on anything else that we do in our real estate investing business. When I first learned about it back in 2009, our business actually tripled that first 12 months in the midst of the financial global catastrophe.
Wow. Well, I know it's important, and to be honest with you, I've used it a couple times, in terms of actually using it, but I've also used knowing I can get it more than actually the times I've used it, and that's been beneficial as well. So first off, let's make sure we're clear on the terms. What do you mean when you say private money?
I'm so glad you asked. There's a lot of misconceptions and different definitions of private money out there. A lot of times when someone says private money, what they're really talking about is hard money or a hard money broker. And in this world, in this context, I'm not talking about hard money lenders. What I'm talking about is private money, which is you're actually borrowing money from individuals, from human beings, just like you and me, and they're going to loan money to us, real estate investors, on our deals, either from their investment capital and or their retirement funds.
And so individuals, are these people that you meet, or are these people you meet through a network, or how do I find the person who's going to lend me that money on a private party basis?
Yeah, I get that question all the time, Bill. Where are these people? How do you
Where are they?
lenders? Where are they? Well, here's a writer downer. These people, these individuals, are in one of three categories. So here are the three places or categories for you to find private money and private lenders. Number one is your own network, your own contacts, people that are in your cell phone, your email list, your social media. Who do you go to church with? Who do you play golf with? Who do you play poker with? Who's your dentist? Who's your doctor? All those connections. Now, in my book, Where to Get the Money Now book, I actually go into a very, very simple explanation as to how you can automatically get that money chasing you to where you're not going around trying to chase and raise money. In fact, when I was cut off from the banks way back in 2009, I was able to raise over $2 million in less than 90 days, and I did it without chasing. So back to the definition or categories. The very first place is your own warm market. Now, you may find it interesting. Right now, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we have got 47 private lenders, individuals who are loaning us money from either their investment capital or retirement funds. And you know what, Bill? Not one of those 47 people had ever heard of private money. They never heard of private money or private lending or self-directed IRAs until what did I do? I put on my teacher hat right here. I put on my teacher hat, which says private money teacher. So the secret, one of the secrets to attracting funding for your deals without ever asking for it is you are a teacher. You're an educator, educating people what this is all about. And that's what I did with these 47 individuals. So back to your question, where are they? Category number one, your own network of connections. Category number two is what I call your expanded warm market. Well, what in the world is your expanded warm market? Well, I have people come to me and say, Jay, all my people are broke. All my connections don't have any money. Well, I don't believe them. But regardless, I believe we all know that there's a direct correlation between your network and your net worth.
Right.
So I teach in my book, Where to Get the Money Now, how do you expand your network very, very quickly? I'll tell you one way that I raised millions in private money very quickly was I joined the local BNI, which stands for Business Networking International. Fantastic organization, Don't have time to go into how that organization works, but you're in that group for the sole purpose of passing leads for your business to each other. The third category of where private lenders are what we call existing private lenders. Well, these are individuals that are already loaning money out to real estate investors, either from their investment capital and or their retirement accounts. Well, where do you find them? Well, when I started out raising private money back in 2009, I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public records here in our local area, in our county, looking for individuals that had loaned money out secured by real estate. Well, Bill, we only found 2 in 90 days. I said, well, there's got to be a better and quicker way. So we started actually creating our own private lender data feed where we get all the real estate closings nationwide. And you can search in our software by zip code and find existing private lenders. Now, there's one more category, and then I'll turn it back to you. Not another category, but another place to find existing private lenders, Bill. And here it is. Here's a big secret. At networking events that are hosted by self-directed IRA companies. Now, self-directed IRA company, if you're listening and you never heard of that, that is a third-party custodian. That's a company that's been approved by the IRS to allow you, if you've got a current retirement fund or pension or 401k, you can transfer that money over with no penalty, no tax effect, and then you can loan that money out to a real estate investor, and all the returns you get are either tax deferred or tax free. So self-directed IRA companies have networking events. I know of one in particular that I recommend. The fourth Wednesday night of each month at 6 p.m., they have a Zoom, and it's free, a Zoom networking event. And here's what's interesting. Over 70% of self-directed IRA account holders want to loan you, the real estate investor, money from their account. So those networking groups are another way that you can connect with people that are already loaning money out.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Thank you. And so you identified 4 different places to work in. Let's try to go back through them one by one. First is your network. You know, one of the key people in your network is you. I know I'm a real estate broker. I've had a couple of real good years in a row. I had money in the bank. And I would listen to these events saying, well, I'd like to lend money out and get a 12% return or, good return on my money. But I never really was professional about it. And I actually, did so, set aside into a separate, I Vanguarded my investments. I put it in a separate account. And then lo and behold, a deal comes to me that needed, $100,000 I happen to have as an investor. That was the number I was looking for. And I said, well, here's the terms. The guy said, yes. Boom, I was letting it out. So one of the first is, I think, I would say that either you or the people there are people who want to get a return on investment, right? I have friends who are mad at me because I've not found them an opportunity to invest. Now, I'm a little nervous because I don't want to, I don't think the investment that I did is appropriate for most of my friends. I'm in the business. I know the property. I know the legal aspects. But to connect them to a system where they can learn, and that was the word you used, part of the education hat. So what would a friend of mine, my doctor, dentist, or my wealthy business associate friend who says, Bill, come on, you must know something I can invest in. And again, my deal may or may not be appropriate for them because I'm involved in it, because it's a little tricky or risky, but I know there are other deals for them. How would I get them involved into learning so that they then will come back and invest money in real estate?
I'm so glad you asked it that way. So here's another key element as to how we attract the private money for our deals without chasing, begging, selling, or persuading. Here's the way it works. You see, desperation has got a smell to it.
Yes.
Desperation has got a smell to it. The worst time to be raising money or attracting money is when you need it for a deal, for goodness sakes.
Correct.
And Bill, I'm getting ready to say something, and I sure hope it aligns with what you believe. I think it will. But there's something that I hear I hear gurus out there, educators saying, and I know you've heard it, and here's the quote. They'll say, oh, just get the deal under contract. The money will show up. And I want to go, Where's the money going to show up? Is it just going to like rain out of clouds or something? Now, if you're a wholesaler and you've got a list of real estate investors that can take deals down, I'm not talking about that.
Right.
That's wholesaling. I'm talking about for the deal that you want to stay in. Right now, I'm averaging $82,000 profit per deal in our small area with median prices of only $325,000.
Wow.
So back to what I was getting ready to say. We want to separate the conversations with a new potential private lender as to the program that I'm offering. You see, that's what's different. In this world, there's no applications. There's no credit score. There's no verification of income. In this world, you know, when you used to borrow money from the bank, you went to the bank or the hard money lender and you got on your hands and knees and you put your hands underneath your chin. You said, please fund my deal. Please fund my deal. That's not the way it works in this world. In this world, we make the rules. We set the term. We set the interest rate. We set the maximum loan to value. Because, you know, when I was borrowing money from institutional money, they made the money. I mean, they made the rules. So let's come back to separating these conversations. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my teacher hat. Now, I'm talking warm market. I'm not talking about existing private lenders. I don't have to teach them anything. They already know about loaning money out. But for these people that have never done it, I teach them the program. What's the interest rate I pay? How can they get their money back in case of an emergency? What's the maximum loan to value? It's my program. I say just duplicate it. So now once they tell me, man, I'm excited about that, and they'll tell me how much money they got to work with. Is it investment capital? Is it retirement funds? And I need to introduce you to the self-directed IRA company that I recommend to get your funds moved over. So now they're ready to go. Bill, this is critical. They're ready to go. I know how much they've got to invest. Now here's exactly what I tell them. I say, I will put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. So now what happens next, Bill? Now what we do is what's called the good news or the great news phone call. And here's the good news phone call. Bill, let's say you're one of my new private lenders. And let's say you've told me you got $150,000 liquid capital ready to put to work. And I said, Bill, I'm going to put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. So a week or so goes by. I pick up the phone. I know you may find it hard to believe, Bill. We actually have handsets here in North Carolina with attached to cords and stuff.
Wow.
So about a week goes by and I pick up my phone and I call you up, Bill, and we have a little chit chat. And then here's the exact script that I say to Bill, my new private lender. I say, Bill, I've got great news. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house over in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. The funding required for the deal is $150,000. Closing is going to be next Tuesday, so you'll need to have your funds wired to my real estate attorney's trust account by next Monday. I'm going to have my attorney email you the wiring instructions. End of conversation. Notice I didn't ask Bill, do you want to fund the deal? Well, of course he wants to fund the deal. He's been waiting for the phone call to put his money to work. And here's even more so. If Bill has moved his retirement funds from where he had them over to the self-directed IRA company that I recommended, that normally takes about 2 weeks. If he's moved those over, now I am ethically bound to put Bill's money to work because it's sitting there not earning a penny until I put his money to work for him and get it invested.
Well, plus theoretically, he's told you where he's open investing, what geography or product type or deal type and dollar amounts. Maybe he said, I want 2 investments at 80,000 or 1 at 160, whatever the customer wants. So I imagine you're taking notes along the way. You're going to bring them a deal that you know they want. So again, you're calling them saying, hey, I found what you're looking for, as opposed to, hey, you said you want a round peg. I got a square peg here. You said you want a blue. Well, this is red, and red's really better for you. That's salesmanship, but I think that's not really giving the customer what the customer wants. And if they tell you what they want, pay attention and then go get that for them.
That's exactly right, Bill. And you know what's interesting, Bill, ever since I've been using private money to fund my deals, not once, I've already said it, not once have I ever asked anybody for money, but I've never pitched a deal.
Right.
I've never pitched a deal. I
Right.
have simply fulfilled what I promised, that I would do.
Right.
And, I learned over the years, Bill, particularly in this space of working with my private lenders, if I ever feel like, and I really haven't, but if you ever feel like you're like you're trying to sell the deal,
Right.
or how wonderful this deal is,
Right.
you're already stepping in doo-doo, because like they're thinking, why are you trying to sell me this deal? It's just straight. It's matter of fact, just straightforward. And by the way, Bill, I want to give the audience a great big tip right here. A couple of months ago, I had a private lender that had $30,000 secured by one of our properties, and she had invested $30,000 just for the rehab. She hadn't invested in the purchase of that particular property. So we're cashing out on the property, and I call her up and I said, look, we're getting ready to cash out on this property. You're going to be getting a $30,000 payoff check in the mail from the closing attorney. And of course, they always want to know, well, can't you just keep the money? Can't you just keep the money? No, you can't keep the money unless we're going to secure it by the property, because we don't borrow unsecured funds. Anyway, so I said to her, I said, and here's a big writer downer for all of you that are listening. This is huge. One of the easiest ways to raise more private money is when you're cashing out a private lender. And so in the case with her, I said, hey, we're paying off your $30,000 note on that house that you did the rehab on. You're going to be getting this check in the mail. By the way, would you like to add any more money to your investment capital? A very, very powerful question.
Sure, of course.
Because when's a better time to say to them, would you like to add more investment capital
Of course.
to, to what you've been doing? I mean, you've already proved to them that, they're getting high rates of return safely and securely from you.
Exactly.
And here's what she said to me. She says, well, how much more are you looking? I said, well, I'm thinking of this particular deal that I'll be closing on in the next week or so. That deal requires $200,000, but you may not have that much that you want to invest. And you notice I did the takeaway there. And she said, well, can I think about that and call you tomorrow? I said, sure. So she called me up and she says, I can do 200,000. Now, bear in mind, that's a lady going from 30 to 200.
Right.
Well, here's what happened. Her mother had just passed away, and now she's got this new inheritance money that she's wanting to put to work. So the moral of that story is always ask, do they have more they'd like to put with their investment capital as you're paying them off?
Very nice. Let me do some housekeeping real quick. This is the official podcast of the Los Angeles County Real Estate Investors Association, the event that Lloyd Siegel hosts every month on the second Thursday of the month. If you go to lareic.com, has all the details, and you'll see we have about 250 people come to the class. We have a speaker on different topics each month that will help you learn one more tool in your toolbox, as well as network with people there and maybe find some mentorship. Upcoming April 11th is William or Bill Bronchek, and he's going to talk about specifically really, I think flipping properties would be how to buy properties with other people's money, kind of a similar concept we're talking here. There's a Vendors Expo before that, and then also April 27th is a boot camp. Now, every month we have different speakers, so go to lareic.com and you'll find the details. Our guest today, we're really lucky to have Jay Conner, Conner. You can go to his website, jayconner.com. If you go to /book, we have up front here, he has an upcoming book, Where to Get the Money Now, and you get a copy of it free. All you do is pay for the shipping cost, and you get a copy of his Amazon best-selling book online as well. So we appreciate Jay coming on today to talk about really using other people's money and private money lending. So we talked about your network. Just to finish out that topic, you put on your educator hat. It seems to me that if you're a real estate broker or you want to be a professional real estate investor, you should always be wearing that hat. And I'm not saying you need to do it graphically for a call, in the sense that I always want my prospects to think of me as an educator, not as a salesman hacking deals. And I want to spend all day saying, what can I do to help teach my prospects so that they'll feel comfortable doing business with me, right? So what are some of the things that, obviously, you're reading your book, I can then invite people into your network. I know a little bit to get them involved. What's the process of going from buying the book and being interested to maybe joining your network to then me extending that to my client database? How do I end up marketing to them in a way that helps me help them?
So are you asking, Bill, once someone gets the book,
Yep.
read about private money, about raising private money,
Yep.
what would the next step be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the book, I go over 5 steps from having no private money to having very quickly, in less than 30 days, more than you can probably use. So step number 1 really is you got to know the program. You got to know what you are teaching, right? So what is it that, I mean, so what's the interest rate you're going to be offering? You know, what's the length of the note? So in the book, I got 20 check marks, 20 boxes as to what the program is for you to teach. So I tell people all the time, Bill, you got to own the real estate between your ears before you can start actually investing in real estate, right?
I like
So
that.
you've got to have just a very, very casual flow conversation with people. Number 2, you got to know how to start conversations. How do you start a conversation with a potential private? They're all around you, right? I love did you know questions. Here's my favorite did you know question when you're just having a chat with someone. And the question is, did you know there's a way people can earn unlimited money per year, tax-free? Boy, you just got their attention. And of course, what I'm talking about is someone having a Roth IRA in their self-directed IRA account. And now all those returns are after-tax dollars. I've got one private lender that last year earned $65,000 tax-free because of the type of self-directed IRA account they have.
Now you're talking, I'm in California where we have Uncle Sam and Uncle Gavin. So when you say tax-free to my customers, you get their attention for sure.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And so another way to spread the word is I have an entire chapter in the book on how to have a successful private lender luncheon. I've raised $969,000 at just one private lender luncheon where I invited people for, you know, an eat and learn kind of thing.
Right.
And those are very, very successful as well. So I've got another chapter on how I recorded a 16-minute audio that I just started sharing with people that got them to chase me. So this whole book is about attracting the money for your real estate deals without ever begging, chasing, selling, or persuading.
Well, and that's the power of content these days. I mean, I know you have a podcast and other sources. These are ways that we can communicate with many people at once and make ourselves more efficient. But you got to find something that you want to learn about and then learn a little bit and then share that with your prospects and then learn more and share that with your prospects. So it sounds like you've laid out some of those pieces of the puzzle. And I guess that would work both for your own network as well as I know would work when you go to somebody else's network like BNI, because when you show up at BNI, well, what do? Well, I'm a real estate investor. There's about 20 of you. But when you show up and you say, well, I specialize in helping people put their money to work through self-directed IRAs or help people get invested in real estate for the first time and get some great returns with very little risk, everybody's ears pick up at those events, right? Because you're saying, here's what I'm doing for you, not what you can do for me. And that's where the key comes from that product.
That is the key right there. Lead with a servant's heart.
Right.
And, you know, and I tell people, I say, look, they'll sometimes say, Jay, I'm just fear of rejection. I'm scared of asking people for money. And well, they didn't hear me say, look, how can you be rejected if you're not asking anybody for anything?
Right.
You know?
Right. And if you offer something compelling, people will line up to get it from you. And I think that's the key. If you're perceived as being of value, and you know, I don't mean to contradict what you say, but I do want to maybe share my experience with it. Is I've said to people, don't worry about the money. If you find the deal, the money will come because I'll get you the money. Meaning, I don't do what you do full time. I'm a real estate broker. I list property. I represent families and attorneys, but I'm an investor, after hours, and I find deals and make money on it. I also network. I go to events. I meet people all the time. I have customers who come to me and complain they haven't found them good deals. So literally, I know I could raise $500,000, $1 million on a good real estate deal if one came my way. Now, I don't do it all day because that's just not, I have a different business I'm running. But I do want to say this to confirm the market that if you're a new person starting this business, private money is a method. There are more people who have money to invest than you would ever imagine. Coming out of their woodwork, I lit on the phone this morning with a friend of mine selling his mom's house for like $1 million, and they're going to net about, he and his brother each $500,000. What are they going to do with it? Should we invest in rental property? Well, not in Los Angeles. I wouldn't do that. You gonna put in the stock market? I mean, it feels like I'm going to Vegas and betting against the casino when I put my money in my stock market. But I can invest money and get a 10, 12% or better return on a deal with somebody who I know the deal. Well, that's right up my alley. And people always say to me, well, how do I get those deals? That's exactly what you're offering, right?
That's it, Bill. That's it.
So I'm sure in your time, you've been around for a while. You've seen a thing or two. You've done a thing or two along the way, like me. We share that. Neither one of us has too much dark hair left at this point. We both have a good head of hair, so that's the positive. But I've seen a thing or two, and I've seen so many people who I saw 10, 15 years ago say, I want to get started. And 10, 15 years later, they still haven't. Yet I also know people who jump in, and I find 10 years later have really built a tremendous business. So what do you say is the difference between the person who jumps in and gets that first deal and gets their beak wet, gets in the process, maybe gets bloodied the first time making a mistake, but learns and begins versus those that never get started? What's the difference, do you think?
Well, a couple of answers come to mind. Your question, first of all, triggers me to share the name of a book that a lot of people haven't heard of. So the author is the same author as Think and Grow Rich. So everybody's heard of Think and Grow Rich, right? Napoleon Hill. But Napoleon Hill also wrote another book titled Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil. And I highly recommend listening to it on audio or Audible instead of reading the book, because on Audible, you actually get to hear the devil's voice. And he sounds like a devil, right? Well, here's the gist of the book, Outwitting the Devil. The devil in Napoleon Hill's book there, he says, you know what? I'm not going to try to steal anybody's dream. I'm not going to try to steal that real estate investor's dream. I want to distract them with all the other opportunities that are coming along.
Yes.
And I want to give them that syndrome of shiny object syndrome, to where they'll be distracted, and as a result, they'll take action on nothing. Right? So that's a big one.
I will say I felt very disciplined in that I have a business plan. I work my plan. At least once a week, somebody comes to me and says, I have this great opportunity. You could do this as well on your podcast. You could do this as well on you could do this. And it's like, you know what? I focus on what I do. I work hard at it. Like same with the private money. Could I do your program too? I guess I probably could, but I'm doing well with what I have. Yes, when I find the right deal for myself, I know enough to jump in on it. I don't know enough to include my friends and family. I just, and other customers. I'm not confident enough to hold them by the hand and bring them in. That's why we're doing this call today. Is I could point them to you and say, get the book, do what he says. I'll walk along with you on that path. But I don't want to get distracted. On the flip side, I also tell people, find one tool in the toolbox, one niche in real estate that you really specialize in, and jump after it. So what you're saying is, take a look at this one. If it's right for you, great. If it's not right for you, move on. But find one and work that one diligently.
That's it. Become an expert in 2 or 3 strategies. No need to, for me, I've done commercial projects. I've built shopping centers from the ground up.
Wow.
But that's not my lane. My lane that I specialize in is, we've rehabbed over 500 houses in this little area of only 40,000 people over the years, and specialize in private money. Now, there's another answer to your, or another reason in answer to your question. Why do some flourish and take off? And why do some not even, get to first base? And here's the other answer, in addition to distractions. And actually, this second answer will help you get rid of the distractions. And that is, for goodness sakes, sign up with somebody like Bill or somebody else that knows what they're doing. I mean, do not start out in this business by yourself. You must have a mentor. You must have a coach that is actually, and I'm not talking a cubicle coach. Do not hire a cubicle coach that ain't even done a deal themselves. I want to work with somebody that has proven themselves to be successful, and they're still doing the business today. Because I can tell you, what's working best for me in my marketing today on finding motivated sellers was not even in my toolbox 3 years ago. So work with somebody. Don't be out there on an island by yourself.
Yeah, I always say work with a practitioner, not with a retiree. Nothing wrong with retiring, but it's hard to be current on the business when you're not in it, right? And the other thing I always say is hungry dogs hunt best. I'm out every day looking for listings. So I can teach you how to do that. Teaching somebody private money, like I said, I know enough to do it. When a deal, and it's my deal, so I don't have to worry about risk because I'm not going to cheat myself. I know the deal, but to convince somebody else it's a good deal is a little more difficult. So let's kind of wrap up a little bit and talk about self-directed IRA companies. I do know there are several that I've come across that do that. Do you particularly work with one? Are you open to sharing that one, or maybe give a little insight as to why that company is the one that's earned your trust?
Yes, I have worked with more than one self-directed IRA company over the years. And here's the way it works. The self-directed IRA company is approved by the IRS. So when I have a new private lender that I'm talking to, and they've got retirement funds, and they're not happy with their returns, or they're sick and tired of the volatility of the value going up and down, then I will introduce them to my representative at QuestTrust.com out of Houston, Texas. So that's QUEST and then another T, Quest, and then Trust, TRUST.com. Let me tell you something. These folks, and I know the principals that started this company, they started this thing over 30 years ago. This company has got the best customer service, hands down, of any self-directed IRA company I know. My private lenders that were using their retirement funds had all their retirement funds at a different self-directed IRA company. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, this other company, which now all my private lenders have moved their accounts to Quest Trust. I get my deals, Bill. I get my deals that my private lenders are using their retirement funds on a deal. I get my deals funded in 3 days. 3 days. All the money is wired in to my closing agent's trust account. So the customer service is fantastic. The private lenders don't leave. I mean, they've been staying with this same self-directed IRA company. So anyway, they are fantastic. And by the way, when you're looking to raise private money for your deals, here's why it's so important to establish a relationship with a self-directed IRA company rep. And that's because more than half, don't miss that, more than 50% of our 47 private lenders are using their retirement funds to invest. And all the returns are tax deferred or tax free. So here's why it's so important to have a relationship with Quest Trust or somebody, so that when you have a new private lender, you can do a Zoom introduction, or you can do a 3-way phone call introduction, to where the rep at Quest Trust can smoothly and easily transfer those funds from where your private lender has those funds over to Quest and start getting your deals funded.
I'll put the link down below, but I'll say also I've seen them in the past, and one thing I like about them is they have a lot of online education and training, and so you can kind of get a feel for the company as well as meet your individual account representative. So QuestTrust.com, we'll put that down in the show notes as well. So Jay, look, I really appreciate your time. Obviously, the best place for people to connect with you is your website, JOICONNER.com/book. If you want to get a copy of the book for free, go in there and click. We'd love to have you do that. And then also, if you go to his website, you'll see he has his podcast, and you're pretty active on podcasting, it looks like.
All my lands, we're like on 600 and some episodes. So yes, if you'd like to be involved and hear more conversations about private money in addition to the book, whatever your favorite podcast platform is, Spotify, iTunes, whatever it is, just search for Raising Private Money. That's the name of the show, Raising Private Money with Jay Conner. And I interview amazing individuals there, and I interview them on how they're raising private money for their deals. And by the way, whether you're doing single family houses and or you're doing commercial, apartments, whatever, it's all the same money. We just structure the deals differently.
Fantastic. Well, Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate having you on here and teaching us about how to raise private money, how to get started with it, and how to also invest our money along the way. So, Jay, thank you so much.
Bill, thank you so much for having me, and God bless you.
You as well. And for those of you who are watching, I'll put down the show notes, contact information again, jconner.com/book. If you want to get a free copy of the book. This is the LA County or Los Angeles County Real Estate Investors Association official podcast. We do this every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific live. We live stream it on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and love to have you join us there. If you like it, put a comment in. If you have suggestions for other guests, love to have you there. And then come to the live event. If you go to LAREIC.com, you get the details. It's the second Thursday of the month at the Iman Center, which is near Rancho Park. It's on Motor just north of Venice. So I'd love to have you guys come for free. We got about 250 people there, and we have about 50 vendors. I'm one of them. Love to meet you. Please come up if you're there and say hi. So again, Jay, thank you so much. And for the rest of you, thank you so much. Make today, as always, your best day ever. Thanks so much, everybody.